Hello, it is me again coming at you with part 3 of how I came to be fully immersed in Korean entertainment and culture. So picking up from where I left off in part 2, basically this part is just going to be current day, the last few years. So once I had been really into the entertainment, the dramas and the music, things like that, manhwa, which is the Korean equivalent of manga. It occurred to me one day as I think I was watching a drama, and I thought to myself, I was like, why don't I just learn Korean? I think that would be fun. Because this was my thought process at that time. The foundation couldn't be too much different from Japanese, because like I said in another part of this, I said I took a year of Japanese, so I had at least the basis of an idea of how the foundation of how I thought Asian languages worked. So the next step was, okay, so I want to learn Korean. Where do I go to do this? So the first thing I did was go onto YouTube and just kind of looked up classes or lessons, or anything that I could really think of. And I come across a channel called Billy Go. And he had a whole playlist dedicated to learning the alphabet. And thankfully, I'm thanking my past self for this, I clicked on that one first. Because I remember when I learned Japanese, I learned the alphabet first, or the hiragana, the katakana, and some kanji. I learned all that first before delving into the language itself, in terms of vocabulary and sentence structure and grammar and conjugation and all that. Learn the alphabet first, people. You'll thank yourself later. So I clicked on the video about Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet. And I didn't know, I go in there thinking, oh, it's an alphabet, letters side by side. But no, that's not how Korean works. I found out that they do blocks with vowels and consonants. And so that was a bit of a shock to me. I was like, well, okay. Well, first let me practice learning how to write them correctly. So that's where I started. I started writing the alphabet, each letter correctly, because I knew about stroke order and stuff like that. That's important. So then once I felt comfortable enough with the alphabet, this was when Duolingo was starting to really take off as a language learning app tool. And so I downloaded Duolingo because a coworker of mine at the time, she was using it to learn Spanish. And so I thought I would check it out for myself, so I downloaded it at work that day and chose Korean and Japanese, because at the time I was like, I could pick Japanese back up and while I'm learning Korean. My idea of that will change later. But so I downloaded Duolingo, and I was using that every day, making sure I don't break my streak. And I will say that at the time for first learning it, it was pretty good for me. Just understanding the alphabet, learning how to write the letters correctly, things like that. But when it came to learning vocabulary, sentence structure, and grammar, I wouldn't recommend Duolingo, unless probably the paid version would be better. Of course, I had the free version because I was just trying this app out. I wasn't intending on buying it or purchasing it or anything like that. So, and I figured it would be like a temporary thing until I could get better resources. And so while I was using Duolingo, I was finding other channels like Talk to Me in Korean is really good, and then Learn Korean 101 and other channels like that, and Billy Go, of course, as I mentioned before. So just watching stuff like that to also get some cultural perspective as well, along with the grammar stuff. And so eventually I came to be decent at the Duolingo stuff and the alphabet and all that stuff. So I send out a message on my Facebook asking about were there any classes locally in the city where I live. And I think the same day a friend of mine who I have been friends with for at least a decade that I can think of, she wrote me and was like, actually, yeah, there's a local Korean school here in town, and I believe that they'll be starting their fall semester soon. Would you be interested? Because I could send you some information. And I wrote her back ASAP and was like, heck yeah, I'm interested. Send me that information when you get it. And so she did. And I was like, I feel silly for not asking her because her husband is half Korean. So yeah, they would know. So she sends me the information. I take a look at it and I'm like, okay, how much is this going to cost me? Because I know it wasn't a free class. It wasn't. So once I found out what the price was, I'm like, okay, how am I going to come up with this money in 2 weeks? Because I think at this time it started in like 2 weeks. And so I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this amount of money in 2 weeks to pay for this class? So what I did was, I just took a step of faith. I prayed and I said, God, if it's meant for me to take this class this semester, you will provide what I need in order to take this class. So I hop on my Facebook and I do a live, and I share it also on my Korean group on Facebook as well, but I shared it initially on my main Facebook page. Basically just being completely transparent with wanting to learn Korean, why I wanted to learn it, just being full honest. And so I did the live on my way home from work that day, just posted it, let it go, whatever. And I think it was right before I got home or when I got home, someone had donated $100. Someone else had donated $50. Someone else had donated like $25, and then someone had donated $30. So total it up for yourselves. I was able to pay for the class because of that, and it happened within a week. And I was like, that's crazy, because I was just like, God, if it's meant to be, you'll make it happen, and He did. So I posted another live on Facebook thanking everybody for the donations. That was crazy. It was great. I really appreciate that. That was amazing. And just how quickly it happened too. So I go to take this class, and I remember how I felt the first day I got there, and it was kind of surreal in a way, and I felt like I was gonna cry. I was just so excited. That's when you know that you're on the right path to pursuing your passions, is when you feel really emotional like that. I wouldn't say that I'm an emotional person per se. I'm probably one of the most chill, calm people that you'll ever come to know and meet and love. But that day I wasn't. So I had to get my composure before I went in. So I went in and introduced myself and all that stuff, and took the class that semester. And I ended up taking the class the spring semester, and the class I was in, which was the beginner class, they offered summer classes that year because we were just so excited and it was really popular. So the teacher, she's really sweet and adorable, she was nice enough to do summer classes for us this past summer. And so now I'm in the fall classes again this semester, and I'm in the intermediate class, and it's a lot different than the beginner class. And funnily enough, the teacher of the intermediate class that I'm in now is the mother of the teacher that was teaching the beginner class that I was in last year over the summer and all that. So it's completely different. And it's a lot more difficult too, because you go in and the teacher expects you to already know certain things in terms of like basic sentence structure and vocabulary. Well, the beginner class is the beginner class, I'll say that. So that's putting more of a pressure on me and everyone else in the intermediate class to like really study and to go above and beyond to really understand how things work. So I appreciate that. It's definitely gotten me to study more than I already had been. So that was pretty cool. So we'll see where that leads. And Lord willing, I want to continue to take the class, because I believe you can take it until you graduate. So, because there's a beginning, an intermediate, and an advanced. So hopefully within another year or so, I should be able to graduate from the Korean school and get my little certificate, because I have a certificate in my office, and I'm just so proud of that thing. So there's that. And I might do a bonus episode because there are other things that I want to discuss, and if I get into that, this video will be way, 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 way too long. So I'm not going to worry about it. But I will add this before I hop off of here. So my pastor at the time, he was collabing the former pastor of this other church in town. And I remember he wanted me and my husband to come, visit this church, just to see what it was like, just to get a gauge of the congregation and how things are set up and how the service goes in terms of how they do things, because we're basically second in command at our church. So we go there, and I remember we walk in and we sit down, and I remember I look up, and at the time the worship group was doing the music, and I noticed that the guy on the piano, or keyboard if you will, was of Asian descent. And so I looked at him and I was like, I'm gonna guess and say that he is I was wrong. I was mistaken. Because I didn't know his names. Like, usually I can tell now if I know what their name is, I can pretty much tell which one. But I didn't know his name, so I just guessed based on looks. I was sadly mistaken. So guess what? I come to find out that he is also Korean as well. And so that further solidified the fact that I need to do this. Because like I said in part 1, Korean stuff has always been around in my life, just sprinkled throughout. And it took it to fairly recently for me to notice that, oh, I can't ignore that. How there's always some kind of constant in your life, and when you really sit back and think about your life, you're like, there is this thing that has been showing up periodically throughout my life, and I probably should look into that. That was the situation. So I finally decided to take the action and take the plunge on that and just do it and not worry about it. And so that also led to this YouTube channel. I'm going to set up an IG for this also. Probably not Twitter, because honestly I don't like Twitter. So maybe a Facebook, but I already have a Korean group on Facebook. I just probably, well, it is public, but it's a very small group. There's only 30-something members, but I'm not necessarily pushing that right now. But I definitely want to get the IG set up, so I might try to do that this week. I don't know. But there are reasons why I am really pursuing this, why I decided to really pursue this, and that's a whole nother conversation for another video. So I'm basically going to end it here, because if I jump into that, who knows how long this video will be. So I just thought I would finish up my story with this, and we'll see if I decide to do a bonus part of this, just to kind of share what I'm planning to do with this channel and with the Instagram, and what my goals are. My goals and my dreams are ultimately. I've already written down several things in terms of ideas for different videos, so just be aware, and I'll keep y'all posted. So that concludes part 3. Stay tuned for a possible bonus episode or part 4, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.